quick question. Are we going to be sharing the PowerPoint or? Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for attending this webinar presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to sort of go over, this is Whitney Sawney from the National Congress of American Indians. I'm an External Affairs Fellow here with NCAI, and so we're really excited to have you online today. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to go over some of our webinar features. First, you should see on your screen the PowerPoint for today's presentation. And if during the presentation you experience any lag in slide transition, it may really be results from the internet. Just give it a few extra seconds to update on your screen. Currently, with the exception of the panelists, all audience phone lines are muted until the conclusion of the presentation. If you would like to queue up a question at any time during the presentation, you can type it into the questions box on your webinar panel, or after the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session, and the panelists will answer questions submitted through the questions box. If you would like to ask a question over the phone, please use the raise your hand option so we can make sure to go in and unmute your phone line after the presentation. Also, our webinar software are archived and all questions submitted through the questions box. So if we are unable to answer your question right away, we will make sure to follow up with you after the webinar has concluded. And I also want to let you know that the webinars are recorded so that we can share this presentation with you and others after the webinar is completed today. So now that we've really covered some of the webinar features, I'd like to turn, I'm going to go ahead and start this part here a bit about Native Vote Action Week. So coming up in September 26th through the 30th, we have a Native Vote Action Week. And we're really excited about this because it's going to allow us to, it's going to serve as an opportunity to make voters aware of the upcoming election, the different key issues in the election, and it's really going to help get out the word and get the people in your community excited about voting. So let's go and talk about here. I'm going to switch the slides, so just give it 1 second to catch up here. So we wanted to know about the Native Vote events that are going on in your community. So on our website, nativevote.org, you can go to our share page. I would love to know about the different activities going on in your community. We also are going to have a big social media push. So make sure that your community and your Native Vote coordination events are following Native Vote on Twitter and Facebook, because we will be using the hashtag NativeVote16 to really follow those events and share some of that information. So we're really looking forward to that. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the new information we have on our Native Vote website. You can register to vote on our website. So if you have a registration drive and you are having a booth, you can maybe have an iPad there or a computer there. You can use our website registration form as a resource, and you can have people register right there at the event. We also have an interactive map for our Native Vote coordinators, which we're really excited to just have launched. So please go on if you have a chance and make sure that your Native Vote coordinator is on the map. We want to make sure that we're keeping that updated and so people can really contact them and learn more about different activities going on in your community. We also have some really neat Native Vote resources that we have been working on. They're state voting brochures. So we've been working with the Native American Voting Rights Coalition. And these different brochures will be available for 20 different states at the moment, and we're hoping to expand that in the future. But for example, it gives you information on registration deadlines, how to find your polling place, tips for avoiding different problems on election day, how to report those problems, how to vote, language assistance information. I want to remind everybody that during Native Vote Action Week, we have National Voter Registration Day on September 27th. So this is when we're really going to try to push out through social media to make people in your community register to vote and really get them excited about that. And then, of course, Election Day is on November 8th. Just want to put that on your radar as well. Obviously, you guys will know about that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our guests here and our panelists from Rock the Vote. We're really excited to have them. First, we have Jen Tolentino. She is Director for Civic Tech and Policy. Manages the continued development of its online voter registration platform and coordinates external voter registration partnerships and spearheads all voting rights and administration and technology policy work. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to her presentation here. Jen, I'll go ahead and let you take it.
Awesome. Can everybody, you guys can hear me?
Yes, hear you.
Perfect, great. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Jen Tolentino. I work at Rock the Vote. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with Rock the Vote, we've been around for over 25 years now, building the political power of young people. And one of the things we're really focused on is we work at the national level, and we've developed a number of tools that are really effective at engaging our community, and we make them available for free to all of our partners so that they can reach out to their people to make sure that they're registered to vote. So next slide. One of the things that we offer to partners, and Native Vote uses this, and I just wanted to make sure that all of you guys were familiar with what it is, how you can use it. You can use the Native Vote platform itself so that you can place it on your website and promote it on social media. But essentially what it is, it's a free platform for all partners. Click. Sorry, I have animation. So the first option is a widget. Anybody on the webinar today can go online and sign up for their own free widget. So that basically gives you access to putting a voter registration guide on your, or voter registration tool onto your website and promoting it on social media, and you're able to track all of it. The next option is a white label tool. That's what Native Vote uses. They have a custom branded version that works across the country that is branded for Native Vote. You could use that, and you could put a special source code on it so that, you know, if you wanted to use the really cool tool that they've built, but you also want to make sure that you're tracking how many people you register yourself, you could have it embedded on your website with a special source code for you specifically. Or you could use it when you're on a voter registration drive on your tablet, but just link to it with a source code. And I can walk you guys through what that looks like so that you're making sure that everybody who registers to vote through the Native Vote platform, one, they're getting the registrant information so that they're able to follow up and get information, but it's also getting tagged as, you know, this is your progress. These are the people that you reached out to. You've got 100 people registered at your voter registration drive, which is incredible and amazing, and we want to make sure that you're also able to track that progress. So the last option is a API build. This is directly off of our API, which all of our tools are built off of. It's a little bit more challenging to do, but it's something that we offer if anybody is interested in building a native mobile version or wanted to modify the flow a little bit. All of our tools, again, are free. They're mobile friendly, so they will work in the field, and they're available in 13 different languages. So we try to make this more as accessible as possible. It is available in more languages than the federal voter registration form or any state website. So that's kind of cool. And then additionally, how you use it is basically you will place it onto a website. You can embed it via an iframe, or you can link to it through a URL. So when you're doing your registration in the field, you don't necessarily just have to go to one website. You just can link to the tool directly and make sure that you're getting people registered to vote. So next slide. So I can run through this quickly. It might not necessarily be as useful for you guys, but this is where you would sign up for your registration tool. Next slide. And this is where you would basically be able to grab all of the useful registrant information that's not sensitive information. So we do have to collect a driver's license number and a social security number for some people to fill out their registration form, but you will not have access to that information. Rock the Vote staff does not have access to that information. However, you do get information on, you know, their full name, their full address. We're able to match them back to their voter file and verify that they got registered and that, you know, if they turned out in November. So if you're using the Native Vote tool, or if you're building your own version of the tool that you're using in your registration drive, you're able to track your progress and reconnect with people to make sure that they actually turn out in November, which is a really, it's it's better than paper in that way, that you have this sort of additional metric to make sure that you're tracking your progress. Next slide. And this is just an example of that, where you would find it in the report section, where you can download a CSV of all of that data. And you can also kind of quickly see stats on, you know, how many people you might have registered and all of those different things. So if you guys have questions on how to use that, I'm happy to walk you through it. But it's pretty self-explanatory, and it's really, really useful information. Next slide. So this is just an overview of all of the data that I mentioned that's not sensitive that you would have access to. One thing to highlight here is the survey questions. If you're using the Native Vote tool, they will have their own survey questions that they've chosen. Every single time somebody goes through the tool, they're asked these questions, and people can answer them. Just maybe you can ask, you know, why you're voting, why is this important, you know, what are the issues that matter to you? And if you build your own tool, you can modify those survey questions. So, and you get answers if people respond, which is kind of a cool additional way that you can identify what things matter or who these people are that you're helping register through your tool. Next slide. So this is an example of the very first version of our tool that's ready to go out of the box. You sign up, as I showed you, and you basically put it on your website and it's ready to go. So can you click? You can see on election protection, they have the button, and it just brings up this really simple Rock the Vote widget. Next slide. This is an example of like a white label version. So we set one up for Katy Perry on her website. There's a cool Rock the Vote icon, and then it brings up a registration tool that doesn't really look like Rock the Vote. It looks like something that Katy Perry would have built for herself. So that's sort of the example between what a widget looks like and a white label version. Those are free, but the white label version obviously takes a little bit more time, and you have to modify some CSS. So that's something that Native Vote has already taken the lead on doing for you guys. So I would highly recommend using the really cool tool that they have built and potentially using source code to identify who your people are. Next slide. And just really quickly, this is an example of, as I mentioned, a custom build off of our API. MCLR and Me2 built a native mobile app that they can use in the field to register people, which is really neat. Again, it's a little bit heavier of a lift, obviously. It's not just sort of skinning something and putting it on your website. They actually built an entire mobile iOS and Android app. But if that's ever something you guys want to think about, perhaps not for November, but maybe next year, it's something that we're happy to help you think through and build. So just wanted to put it out there. Next slide. One other really cool component of it that I want to make sure everybody's aware of, we send email reminders to make sure that people either understand where to look for more information. If they're in a state that offers online voter registration, we pass them to the state, and we also follow up with a reminder of this is how you contact the state, this should be where you go for more information. And then next slide. If somebody is in a state that does not offer online voter registration, we're helping them complete a federal voter registration form. So they also are sent immediately a version of their PDF that they can download and print. Then they're sent another reminder, and then a final reminder 2 weeks before the PDF is deleted from our servers. So that's just trying to make sure that everybody who completes the federal form takes those final steps to download, print, and send it in. It can be kind of challenging because it's a little bit more than just doing an online process. So that's sort of why those emails are there. If you guys wanted to, it's free to completely modify what those emails say, what the sender is, the HTML, so that if you have specific website that you want to draw people's attention to, or if there's an additional action when somebody, you know, gets registered, you can incorporate all of that information into these automated email responders that make sure people are engaged. So, next slide. So that's sort of an overview of all of those. One other really cool thing that we can do for you is we can set up a registered to text message. So essentially you would have, if you text vote 2016 to RT vote, it actually works right now. We can set it up to direct to any specific partner registration tool. So this might be something where we would set up Native Vote to already vote, where you guys can have it directing to the Native Vote tool, and people would begin the registration process via an SMS, and then we would push them to the Native Vote tool to get registered. Super helpful when you're in the field and you only have to get people registered. This essentially turns everybody's smartphone into a registration tool. So if that's something you guys want help getting set up, we can do that for you. We also offer, if you wanted to set up a pledge flow, we can do that as well. It's something that we can kind of talk through whether or not it's useful, but we have some really simple ones already set up. So if you guys wanted to use Vote 2016, you're more than welcome to promote that as a tool that already gets people registered to vote as a flow. So next slide. All right, so this is the point where I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Shanine. She is our special projects manager and an amazing woman who knows everything about how to run voter registration drives. So Shanine, take it away.
All right. So with our voter registration drive portion, you can turn to the next slide also. We give organizations and people opportunities to host their own events. And through hosting your own event, you'll fill out a form to host your own event with in collaboration with Rock the Vote. It does have to be nonpartisan and nonprofit, so free to attend. And basically, this is a way where people or different organizations could use Rock the Vote's name in planning their event and in collaboration with Rock the Vote, and just get the word out in their neighborhoods. All types of people use this tool, various organizations. We've had a fashion show use this tool. So you can host all different types of events, concerts, art shows, anything. And this tool is great because it's just a tool that you download a toolkit, and we'll get more into that later, and it shows you how to add voter registration to your event. So you can go to the next slide. So within the toolkit, we'll kind of give you a planning process, and here's some things that you should do before your event. So know the voter registration rules in your state, and you can find some of that information in our toolkit and also on our website and our election center. And basically just knowing deadlines, what you need to register to vote, what you need to take to actually vote, and then pick a date, time, and place. If you're going to be doing a voter registration drive, it is key to host the voter registration drive before the voter registration deadline in your state. And then build your team. Make sure you have capacity on the ground to help out with your voter registration drive. You can have someone running social media, someone that's going to be collecting all the papers if you choose to do papers. You can have someone that's going to be the point contact with Rock the Vote if you have any questions. And then you get your voter registration forms, and then you get your supplies. So if you need pens, extra paper, just anything that people will need to actually complete voter registration forms. And then you can set up your online voter registration tool, which Jen just went over, and also a text-to-vote code. And then you could also use Rock the Vote's general text-to-vote code. And if someone's like in a rush at your event and they're like, oh, I don't have time to fill out a form completely, you can just say, hey, text 2016 to RT Vote, and they can start filling out their form via text message, and then they'll be followed up with the actual form to print out and send in. And then, of course, you have to publicize your event. And being that we allow you to use our logo and our name, you can say Rock the Vote and whatever your organization is. Event is going to be at this place. You can use our logo in your promotional materials. And then another key thing is to train your volunteers. Make sure they're aware of all the voter registration laws in your state, in your area, all the dates, all the deadlines, just so, you know, people can have multiple people to go to while you're hosting your own voter registration drive. And you can go to the next slide. And so then during your event, you do want to set up your spot. We do provide you with our logo. However, we don't provide actual event materials. But with our logo, you're able to create banners, posters, flyers, and we actually have within our toolkit a banner where you can include your logo beside Rock the Vote's logo. You can send it to like a Kinko's or, you know, a printing shop near you and print out an actual banner for your event. We make it pretty easy for people to print out materials for their event. And then we also included a social media guide in our toolkit. basically telling you how to hashtag, what to tweet, how to tweet, because we do have to remain nonpartisan. So making sure you're not endorsing any candidates or choosing sides. And also during your event, it's key to make sure that all the forms are completed. Make sure people are signing and dating, including all of their information that needs to be included. And it's also good to be proactive and engage with people to kind of inspire people to actually get out to vote once they're registered. And, just relaying the importance of voting. And then you can sign people up for election reminders. We have a spot on our website, and it's Pledge to Vote. So once people pledge to actually vote, after, of course, they register to vote, they'll be getting reminders like saying, hey, this deadline's coming up. Hey, you can vote here. So that's also something very good. That makes the process easy for people to actually get out and vote. And you can go to the next slide. And then after your event, of course, you want to thank your volunteers and then deliver the registration form. And then you can follow up with Rock the Vote. We're actually going to we would send you like an email to follow up with us. Send us any pictures, any highlights, anything amazing that happened within your event. Let us know how many people you actually got registered to vote. And then plan your next event. We have, some states have about a month left to get people registered to vote, but that's our push right now, is just really pushing these voter registration drives so that we can get as many people hosting these drives to get out to vote. And we're also going to be adding a presidential debate toolkit to our website. So if you want to host some debate watch parties, get people registered to vote there, get people informed on what's actually going on during each debate, and also just, making people commit to vote. That's like our main. You can go to the next slide. So what we'll give you in the toolkit, so once you actually fill out the form, and in order to get the toolkit, I drill this all the time, but your event has to be nonpartisan and it has to be free to attend. So you'll get a voter registration how-to guide, and we'll basically line out everything that you need and everything you need to know in planning a voter registration drive. We'll give you state handouts. We'll give you a script, and then we'll give you answers to frequently asked questions, and then the 10 golden rules of voter registration. You'll get our logo and also our social media kit so that you can know how to tweet about it, how to add us in your tweets. We can look up some of your images using our hashtag. So we really do the footwork for you, and we provide it with you in the toolkit. But it is just important that once you do get this toolkit that you remain, nonpartisan, and that your events are free to attend. And it's pretty simple, so anyone can do it. Any organization can do it. It's about a 24 to 48-hour turnaround once you submit your form online, and then it'll be a follow-up saying like, hey, we got it, and then it'll be another follow-up with the actual toolkit. And the toolkit provides everything you need to host a successful voter registration drive. And I think that is it on my end. Does anyone have any questions for Jen or myself?
Great. Shanice, we do have a couple of questions. One here from Davina. One says, are there any native languages for the registration platform, and how hard would it be to collaborate with tribes to add those native languages?
That's a really good question. So currently we do not have any native languages, but I would love to add them. So essentially all it is I would send you a list of everything that we would need translated, which is pretty big because we send all of the chase emails in that specific language in addition to the registration form itself. But if you guys are willing to help us out in doing that, we would love it. We would absolutely love it. That would be incredible.
If people wanted to do that, can we send them your contact information and connect with you? Or
that would be
you
perfect.
Be able to provide? Okay.
Yep. Just Jen at Rock the Vote. If they want to shoot me an email, if they have the capacity, it is a large translation request. So just be aware of that. But we're happy to do it if you guys have the bandwidth. I can't guarantee that we'd be able to have it up by November though.
Okay, great. We do have another question here from Rebecca. Can we use the online voter registration tool if the person we are registering doesn't have a driver's license but has a tribal ID? For example, like in the state of Arizona.
So in the state of Arizona, the way it would work is we would not pass them to the state website because they don't have a state-issued ID, and they would put in either none or the tribal ID number, depending on what guidance Arizona provides for the federal form. So they would certainly be able to use the form.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, the way it works is we identify whether or not the individual is eligible for online voter registration by having either a state-issued ID or whether or not their state even offers it. And then if they aren't eligible for online, we walk them through the federal voter registration form process, which everybody can use.
And see, I also have a question from Rosemary here. So Rosemary, I'm here. See if I can get her. I just going to get her a question here in just 1 second, but we do have a question maybe that Robert could answer. Robert Holden is also on the line here. He's our deputy director at NCAI. And Robert, we had a question about doing native vote videos, and can they use native candidates in those videos?
I'm sorry, can they do what?
For if they like to make a native vote video, can they use native vote candidates? And how does that process work involving those candidates in those videos?
Well, the short answer is I'm not positive, but that's something that we should talk to some of our legal folks. But it seems like, if they're not pushing their candidacy, if there's no political materials in that video, it seems like that there should be no problem, because other than that, they're that community publicizing native voter education processes and efforts. So the short answer, that's the short answer, I guess. But certainly we'll look into it, and if you'll communicate with us to Whitney and let us know, we'll certainly get back to you with a more complete answer.
Absolutely. I have the contact information, so I'll make sure to follow up with you after the webinar, Margaret. Hey, Rosemary,
Perfect.
were you able to get the audio pin pulled up? That might not be possible. Okay. Okay, does anybody else have any more questions for either Jen, Shanice, or Robert? All right. Looks like we don't have any more questions. I wanted to ask Jen, if someone wanted to use those voter registration tools and put them on their own website, who offer sort of a training or assistance putting that and embedding that onto the website?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's pretty simple. Essentially, if you go into the partner portal and go to the embed section, you can just grab the embed code, and you should be able to use that directly in your website. Just like grab the code and place it on there. If you wanted to, as like native vote people, if you guys wanted to make your registration tool available to the partners, but then also track what that looks like, you would just grab your same embed code and then add a source code to it to identify, or have the partner add the source code to identify themselves when they embed the tool. So either one works, and I'm happy to answer any questions that people have if they have issues like grabbing the code or questions about how to use it.
I also had a question, I think, regarding to sort of the whole event. They were wondering if they could use the Rock the Vote logo to make their own T-shirts.
I'm not positive. I know that if you do use our logo, you can't sell the item, right, Jen?
Yes. So it wouldn't be, I don't think that, yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think it would certainly be fine within the context of, creating logo T-shirts for a registration drive or something like that. I think that's sort of a gray area where we probably need a little bit more information, but I don't think the answer is going to be for sure no. I think it's a maybe.
I also wanted to mention to Margaret that if you have an event, please reach out to either myself or Robert. Our contact information is on the Native Vote website, and we'd be happy to talk to you about connecting with Native Vote T-shirts and that merchandise as well, so that you can maybe use them for giveaways at your registration drive. But also, we had another question for Jen and Shanice. Can you go back over the 10 golden rules you had mentioned in your presentation in terms of what you'll get whenever you host your own Rock the Vote event?
Yes, it's in our toolkit. Hold on one second. I'm just pulling up our toolkit. I just had it. I just lost it, but I'm pulling it back up now.
Okay, no worries. So while we wait on that, I just did want to reiterate, Margaret, that just to answer your question, you can go onto the Native Vote website, and if you go under Native Vote resources, you'll be able to see information there on where to get some Native Vote merchandise. There are T-shirts, there's buttons, there's bumper stickers, and again, I'd love to be able to and goes out to everybody else. You can reach out to us and tell us about your events. We'd love to hear about the different things that you have going on, especially during Native Vote Action Week, because we really want to get people registered to vote, and we want to also make sure you're following us on Twitter and Facebook, and so that we can keep you updated on new resources we have coming out. And we're going to be continuously updating our Native Vote palm cards, even though they're not really palm cards, they're more brochures, because there's so much information that we want to be sure that we're sharing. But they have information in terms of just, where to find your polling place, how to vote, different language assistance availability on voting day. So I just want to make sure you guys use that nativevote.org website as a resource tool.
Okay, and I pulled up the 10 golden rules. And did you want me to read them off to you all?
That would be great, yes. I think we just sort of wanted to...
Okay, so the 10 golden rules of voter registration. Number 1 is voter registration forms are gold, and to treat them like they are. Number 2 is don't stand behind the table, move around, be assertive and friendly, and let everyone see how much you're enjoying this. And then the third rule is ask everyone to register, not just people that look like you or people that you want to approach. So just be sure that you're asking everyone. Number 4 is make sure you have 2 clipboards on you. While someone is filling out a form, start engaging with your next registrant. Number 5 is don't waste time convincing the unconvincible. If you get the feeling someone is just talking to be heard and won't be talking to registering, just go ahead and move on. Number 6 is check the form twice. Make sure the registrant has signed their name in the appropriate spot and has not mixed up their birthday and current date. Number 7, there is a role for everyone. If someone wants to help, let them. Each person has something to contribute. Number 8, already register. It's just an excuse. Make sure they're registered at their current address. Ask them if they have moved since last registering and encourage them to register at their school address. Number 9, don't stand behind the table. And number 10 is have fun, wave, smile, laugh, ask questions, share success, and celebrate. And those are 10 golden rules.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, Shanice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And that will be included if you, register an event. It'll be included in the toolkit download.
Are there any more questions that we have for Jen or Shanice or Robert? I just wanted to thank all of you for joining us for this webinar today. I did want to remind you that the Native Vote Action Week is going to be on September 26th through the 30th. National Voter Registration Day. Let me pull up this slide here so that we have this date. Native Voter Registration Day, or just National Voter Registration, is going to be on September 27th. So we want to make sure that you're getting out the vote and getting people registered, and make sure again to share that information with us on the Native Vote website. There's an option to share your story about your event, and be sure to post it to social media with the hashtag NativeVote16. We want to be able to hear about that and share that information. We're really excited. We're also having, for those who are in the Phoenix, Arizona area, on October 11th, we're having a Native Vote rally. So be sure to join us. It's open to the public, and we're really excited about that as well. If you have an event, we'll also put it on our calendar on our website. So that is a good resource to find out about different events maybe in your area and leading up to the election. So again, if you have any questions, my name is Whitney Sani, and you can reach me at wsawney@ncai.org. And that information.
Whitney?
Yes.
Hi, Whitney.
Yes.
Before we sign off, I just want to, reiterate this terrific partnership we've had with Rock Vote over the years. It's just been fantastic. I mean, there's just so much that we have to be thankful for their for working with us. And we have some amazingly talented folks that were online with us today. And thank you, Jen. Thank you, Shanice, for your wonderful presentations and the work that you do. It's just you're unsung heroes. And so we're all better off for your participation. And thank you so much. And thanks everyone up and down Rock the Vote for this continued partnership.
Yes,
yeah, we're happy to do it. Yeah, and please, we'd be really, really excited to feature some native languages on the tool. So anything else that we can do, just keep us in mind and let us know. It's helpful. You guys are also doing amazing work, so we're happy to be supportive.
Great.
All right. So thank you so much again to Jen and Shanice for sharing that information about Rock the Vote. Again, make sure to check out their website for some of the tools and information that you can use. I also want to remind you that this webinar has been recorded, so sort of hit some of this information too quickly, you'll be able to sort of access that on our YouTube channel for Native Vote. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up with. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.